What's up, guys? This is Baitman Raw, and you're probably going to want to listen to this stream more than you're really going to want to watch it because it's really basically going to be me talking for the majority of the time. There's not going to be any live interaction where I'm answering questions on the fly. This is all pre-recorded. I won't say this is low budget live like Luke Duncan. And if you're not listening to Low Budget Live, guys, you might want to. It's some good stuff. This is like no budget live because I really don't know what I'm doing. So I'm just going to go over some topics and have a guest on. And this week, for the very first episode of Baitman Raw, it's my man from Nebraska, Ben Milliken. You may know him as the MFer from YouTube, but he's going to be on here in just a little bit. We're going to talk a little bit about Ben's success in YouTube and what's going on in the YouTube world and his affiliation with 6 Cents and kind of how he started his fishing career on the internet. And as a guy I really respect, and Ben he has gotten really successful and he's really stayed true to himself, and I respect that. But before we get Ben on the show, we got some things to talk about. As far as sponsors wise, I must give a shout out to 6 Cents Fishing. They're kind of the sponsor here, and really the only sponsor I got. And use my code Baitman to get 10% off any purchase. If you're looking for a great gift for the holidays, look at the Super 6 sack, and you can also get that tailored to your specific fishing or area of the country. That way you get baits that will catch you fish. It is not a random mystery box. It is not a monster box. It's not coming with samples. It's coming with hand-picked stuff that is going to catch you fish. All proven baits, nothing that you're going to have to guesstimate on. So shout out to 6 Cents Fishing there. Also shout out to Russell Marine. They have some great knowledge and the best in electronics equipment. So give them guys a click if you don't mind when you're looking for your new Humminbird, Lowrance, or even the new Garmin depth finders and trolling motors. Yes, Garmin, Lowrance trolling motors will be available very soon. So make sure you contact Russell Marine, especially Justin over there, one of the smartest guys out there when it comes to that stuff. So let's get on with it. I'm going to go ahead and get my unfiltered opinion out there. And first off, to address somebody, I am a nobody. I'm just a dude that got really lucky with a good job several years ago that became friends with a lot of these pros. I grew up around some pros, and I've learned the ins and outs of the industry. I'm not a insider. I just happen to know a few people and get told some things, and I keep a lot of it to myself. But we got a lot of changes in the pro fishing industry and changes on YouTube, and we're going to hit on that really quickly. So let's just go ahead and address the elephant in the room. That is Major League Fishing, and we've got people fighting each other. They want to kill their aunts, their uncles. They're throwing their brothers under the bus. No Fletcher. But it's just really crazy, and I'm a fan of all fishing. Someone really upset me the other day when they said, I'm just a shell for MLF. Look at my timeline. I'm just pro MLF. Well, that's not really true. I'm just an open thinker. So I look at everything differently than most people. And let's be honest. If everybody agreed about the same few topics or same opinions, we won't have anything to talk about. There would be no reason for podcasts or this or that. If you look at something black, I want to try to look at it gray. I don't always want to address the full bad or the full good, but I'm a fan of Bassmaster. I always have been. I was at the Classic when Mike Iaconelli won and did the break dancing. Does an unbelievable tournament. It was a great experience there at the Superdome in New Orleans. And I'll never, ever forget that. That was a great event. Got to spend it with my dad. And we went on to 4 more Bassmaster Classics before he had his stroke. And those are memories that aren't going to be made by MLF or even FLW. I've attended a couple Force Wood Cups, but nothing was ever at the peak like the Bassmaster Classic. And just because some pros left doesn't mean the Classic lost its luster. It's still the top tier event in my book. New faces are going to fill voids. That being said, I'm going to miss guys over there at the Bassmaster Classic, but I like guys over on Major League Fishing. Not a huge fan of the every fish counts format. I definitely see the pros and cons. I can see where it's really exciting, but I will tell you that is the most intense format to me as far as knowing how to fish and play catch up. When you start that score trackers going off, I don't think I understand how tough that is mentally on a fisherman to know that if you decide you're going to pull your trolling motor up and drive 5 minutes down the lake, that potentially could get passed up by 5, 6 or more people just on a couple fish catches. So the strategy is really crazy, and I totally respect those guys fishing that format. I know that some guys are unhappy, and that's okay. I really like Gerald Swindle. I've known G for a long time. He's always been a really good dude to me, whether it was, doing stuff for hunting shows that we were involved in. He took me fishing when I was like 18, only for like a couple hours, and it blew my mind how fast this dude could fish. I caught 2 fish on a fluke behind him, so I feel good about that. There may be a lot of co-anglers that never caught a fish behind Gerald, but I did catch one, and that was way back in the day. That was like Sitco days. And Gerald did Classic Patterns TV show I got to edit in Lost Lake, and I saw Gerald catch a giant fish on Kentucky Lake up shallow on a lizard, a bait that a lot of guys don't throw anymore, but Gerald's a great lizard fisherman. But he's not a guy that's going to go catch 100 males a day. He's going to go after some bigger fish. He wants those bigger bites. So I totally get it. Brandon Polinick, I think, is an excellent representative of the sport. What he does for social media, video, and content, he's really, really good at it. He's got a great fond of the younger generation and that the guys that are Federation guys that are chasing a dream. So I get why both guys went back to Bass. And hey, let's just be really honest. There's definitely some money involved. And when it comes to money, I like money. You like money. We got to pay our bills. We got to put food on the plate. And sometimes we want to put some wheels on our truck. And if you can get a little extra, go for it. So definitely not going to fault those guys. I think they both would have been successful in Major League Fishing. It would have worked out for them. But not going to fault them if that's where they felt like going. But I will say, and this is not anything negative, no one angler makes one organization as good as Kevin Van Dam is. He didn't make bass. And as good as Edwin Evers is, he's not going to make MLF, even though he wins like everything. But it takes a combination of great talent, great ran tournaments, and kind of a general sense of the fishing community to really have a great organization. And, I hate to say this. FLW is in my hometown. I've been here for years. I've always thought a lot of the people that work there, but somebody can make a really good ESPN 30 for 30 on the rise and fall of FLW. Because you think about it, FLW gave us the wrap boats, the jerseys, the flash, the excitement of the weigh-in. They used to bring the 5 boats in, and the guys pull 1 fish. Then when this guy weighs 1 fish, go over here, Jay Ellis, what do you got? And he pulls out a 5-pounder, and everybody goes wild. And even Gerald Swindle got his first win there on FLW. And the last 3 or 4 years, I would say the year after Brad Knight won the Force Wood Cup, the excitement really went downhill. Now, saying that, the Clint Davis win was really, really good. That was one of the best comebacks you'll see on a championship day ever, regardless of tournament organization. And was definitely happy for Clint, but they're just forgotten about. And I think some tournaments were mismanaged, not just at the tour level, but you look at the BFLs. When I first started fishing as a boater, the entry fee was like $150, and it was $300 last year. First thing Major League Fishing does is announce they're cutting that to $200. I think that's a great move. But the All American used to be an amazing tournament that every grassroots angler shot for. They wanted to qualify for the All American. And dude, I can't tell you one I was really excited about in a long time. I got some friends. Brent Anderson, he's been on my show before. Brent's qualified for 4 or 5 All Americans. Billy Schrader here in Paducah, Kentucky, he's qualified for, golly, it's like every year. Ray Barger here locally, he's qualified for a bunch. But when those guys were first fishing those All Americans, that was the big deal. That was right below the Bassmaster Classic. It is the hardest grassroots championship tournament to get qualified for. And I really felt like when the fields got watered down, the regionals were less than 80, 90 boats in some of them, it really lost its luster. The All-American winners, Joe Thomas won All-American. Jacob Wheeler won it and the Forest Wood Cup in the same year. Really launched Wheeler way out there. Jump started his fishing career. Then he goes over to Bass. Of course, he won the Bass Fest over there. And then he won an Elite Series at Cherokee. Now he's on Major League Fishing. He's won some MLF TV show stuff. And he won a BBT event. So that All-American was very prestigious. And that's something I really want to notice if MLF makes that thing great again. Not to Donald Trump it, but make the All-American great again and make those guys, those weekend anglers, have something to fish for. And let's be honest, there's Costa pros, there's FLW pros that will fish the BFLs and want to make the All-American. I mean, it's a tough tournament to win. It's tough to get qualified for. And I just really felt it lost its luster quite a bit. So that's something I'm looking forward to. And, there's a lot of guys that are on the fence right now with Major League Fishing and the FLW, especially after the guys that qualified for what would have been the FLW Championship Forest Wood Cup. They got an automatic berth. Andrew Upshaw, Travis Manson, there's some other guys. And then all of a sudden, it's taken away. So they don't get an automatic $10,000 for making that. So that's money out their pocket. They don't get a chance for fish for $200,000-$300,000 like they would have if they're fishing the Cup. So you're losing money, and you may be losing some extra sponsorship dollars and some prestige there. So unfortunately, anytime a business acquires another business, they don't have to hold up any of the practices before. If Walmart comes in and buys out my local True Value hardware store, they don't have to honor any of the discounts they gave other people. They don't have to honor the prices or the policies. But there's a kind of a moral, ethical thing, and I totally get where those guys are coming from. But I also feel like we need to wait this out. Major League Fishing's kind of going by the seat of their pants right now. They've just acquired a huge organization. It's got a lot of inner workings. You've got the BFLs, what was the Costa series. By the way, Costa just cut a shit pile of jobs, like 250, relocating their headquarters to New York. They were building a brand new place there in Florida, so that's kind of crazy. They've got the tour, Major League Fishing. There's a magazine, website. People forget they started a kayak league last year, and I don't know how well that went over. It seemed cool, and kayak fishing is definitely growing. Now you see Bassmaster's got involved. So for the kayak anglers, there's the Hobie, there's the KBF tours, there's the Bassmaster tour, and there's FLW events. And it's time a lot of people understand this kayak bass fishing's here to stay. It is the fastest growing part of the bass fishing industry. That said, there are a lot of companies that are really trying to specialized kayak stuff like, oh, these are specialized kayak rods or reels or baits. You don't need no specialized stuff to fish from a kayak. Just get your rod and reel, find a kayak that you can afford, and go out there. The type of rod, whether you have a G-Limus or a $40 ugly stick, isn't going to make you any better of a kayak fisherman. In my experience, I really think being able to know your boat, how to use it, that is as important as anything in a kayak. The guys that are really good fishermen are also really good at pedaling and paddling. The paddle is, your oar-like thing. Your pedal is the ones with the foot drive. And a lot of guys do both. So it's really crazy where bass fishing has gone. And, the industry itself has grown. I'll be honest, I wish I started a jersey sublimation company, because everywhere I turn, there's people in bowling shirts out there. And I always get a lot of criticism for my comments on those guys. And let me just be real here. If that's what you want to do, go for it. I wear fishing apparel all the time. I'm wearing a hoodie right now. It's got a logo on it. It is what it is. But again, I don't wear a King Griffey Jr. jersey out to Applebee's and tell everybody, I play for the Seattle Mariners. It just doesn't work like that. But I will give you a good tip. If you see a guy that's got, Zoom, Strike King, Berkeley, and another one on there, chances are he's really not sponsored, because a lot of those companies, you can't have competing direct competitors like that. But what I'm saying is there's so many more people fishing now than they used to. And unfortunately, it creates a watered down environment for guys wanting these big sponsorship opportunities. And what Major League Fishing has wanted to do is really separate the wannabe guys to this top tier ultra elite. We don't want entry fees. We're just like MLB, NFL. If you qualify for this is the top tier. My feelings on that is, I always feel like bass fishing tournaments are legalized gambling, and until they're not gambling, it won't be legitimized. I know Bass has made some moves to reduce and eliminate some entry fees, and I think that's totally a great way to do that. But, why can we not go play Texas Hold'em in the state of Kentucky for money, but I can go show up to a boat ramp on Tuesday night and give some random stranger $80, and he say, all right, y'all weigh on men at 10, may the best win. What's the difference between me doing that and putting $100 in a slot machine? I mean, it's fishing. They're wild animals. They're not predictable. It's what makes it tough. That's why we like it, because it's not just putting a ball through a hoop. It's different, but it is a gamble. And unfortunately, a lot of guys have gambled their way into a lot of debt. So I want what's best for all these anglers from a cost of living standpoint. And I truly believe that in the next 4 to 5 years, whether it's bass or Major League Fishing, you're going to see an elite level of fishermen that aren't paying for entry fees, that aren't getting memo deals on boats. Maybe it's a contract with these companies that say, we're going to pay you a guaranteed $50,000 a year. Whatever you win, that's yours to keep with sponsor dollars, something like that. That's how I would do it. There's no sense of a guy that's, let's just say Mike Iaconelli has to pay X amount for his boat. He shouldn't have to do that. Michael Jordan didn't have to pay for his Air Jordans. I can tell you that. You think LeBron pays for his shoes from Nike? No. It's part of does his job, and he promotes them. So why should some of these pros have to pay for their boats? Or, they don't pay for all their electronics and everything. Well, some of them do. They just get them at steep discounts. But I don't really want to get into that. But we are fixing to talk with my man Ben Milliken with 6 Cents Fishing. So, guys, do me a favor. If you don't know who Ben is, look him up on YouTube. Ben Milliken or Ben Milliken Fishing. Subscribe to his channel. So let's get Ben on the phone right now. Guys, you've been waiting for it. I'm really excited. I've got my friend here from Nebraska, certified MFer himself, the first guest on Baitman Raw, Ben Milliken.
What's going on, Kevin? How we doing, man?
Man, I'm doing good, Ben, and I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm really glad you joined me in here. It's good to know that some people can blow up on YouTube and have 5 gazillion subscribers and still want to talk to a guy like me that's just trying to get 13,000 or so.
Oh no, man! It's not about the numbers at all. I've always known you're definitely a real one. You're great for the industry, Kevin. You have a lot of great feedback, a lot of great knowledge of just bass fishing in general. So it would be stupid for me not to want to jump on any type of call with you.
Well, dude, I really appreciate that, and I try to remain really humble because, I mean, I am a nobody. Somebody on Facebook did remind me I'm a nobody, and I appreciate that.
I get
But
reminded that every day. Still, it's okay.
yeah, sometimes I feel like if you don't wear a derby jersey, people don't want to respect you. And I've never made it out to say, dude, I'm the best fisherman. I'm like average at best, but I have a really good knowledge of the industry and the baits. So, uh,
Absolutely.
but you know what? You know a lot about baits, and we've had a lot of good conversations privately and, at ICAST and stuff like that. So, my question to you, Ben, and just give us a little bit of your background and what really got you started into doing YouTube, because we actually started channels at like the same time.
Yes, sir. No, I think we've talked about it a little bit in the past, but for those that don't really know my background, I'll kind of give a brief synopsis. Basically, I've been fishing since I was real little. Um, every possible minute I could for every species. I kind of started like multi-species stuff, but then I fished my first bass tournament when I was in high school, and so that kind of really got me drawn to it. Went to college at University of Nebraska at Lincoln. Was on their bass fishing team. College fishing had just started, so got on that, fished a couple tournaments, just got ate up with tournament fishing, and I kind of directed all my passion towards bass fishing. But I also decided I want to play baseball in college. I had a couple scholarship offers that next summer, and so I went to a community college and kind of took a little hiatus from fishing, but then gave up that a little bit to try to get my degree and ended up going to University of Nebraska at Omaha and started a college fishing team there. And that's kind of where everything started to really grow as far as my tournament fishing. Um, we made the national championship in FLW, and I was super jacked about that. I was fishing all the local stuff, fishing the college stuff, and I basically just I got a job with my degree, and I just kept fishing these tournaments, these local tournaments and regional tournaments for about 10 years or so before I even started this YouTube thing. So I kind of went the opposite direction of a lot of the YouTube guys, where it seems like they had the whole internet YouTube hacking figured out, and then decided to start fishing. I kind of went the other way. I really tightened my craft, and no one ever perfects their craft, obviously, with fishing, but I worked on that a lot beforehand, and then the YouTube thing kind of just fell into my lap from another YouTuber that was pretty big at the time. Hopped on my boat. We met actually at a state fishing tournament, and I was like, "What the hell is this guy doing with these cameras and stuff on the back of the boat?" But I didn't really think anything of it. And then I go back, and he makes a video of it, and I start seeing some fish catches and stuff, and I'm like, "Damn, that's actually pretty cool." And then I'm like, "Oh my god, he's getting like 30,000 views and stuff on the videos. That's pretty interesting." And we kind of started talking the business side of it a little bit and started understanding it's actually a way you can make a living. And I was like, well, shit, I got I don't have a lot of free time working full time, but I'm going to do this in my free time. And it just kind of all took off from there.
Yeah, dude. If you guys on the podcast hear door slamming, I have a ghost in my bait room. So, but I mean, I personally, I just turned 34, like, I don't know, 2 weeks ago. I done forgot I'm so old, but what's crazy is the whole college, high school thing is so huge right now.
It
And
is.
I'd kind of, well, I didn't graduate college. Obviously, I sold baits for a living, but uh, that was just right in front of me. So I totally
Definitely.
missed that thing. I mean,
Just
that,
barely. Yep.
yeah, I remember reading about it in a few magazines like Purdue and I knew Nebraska and a few other were just really getting it off the ground. And I was like,
Yep.
yeah, we'll see how that works out. Now it's like a multi-million dollar industry.
Totally.
Um, but you're right though. A lot of these YouTube guys, they're like, you know, they put I feel like they put the cart before the horse. You know, they're all preaching, do this, do that, do that, and I'm like, yo, you guys have like nothing to show for it other than your videos.
Yeah,
Whereas
totally.
I get asked all the time on my live streams, like, who's the best YouTube fisherman? And I'm like, you know, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but I really respect Ben Milliken because I know he's put the work in at the local series and in college, and he's had really, really good success. I mean, way better than me. I mean, you go look up my FLW profile, it says $0. I said, I'm way better just trying to fish for fun than I am trying to catch a check, you know.
Right, right, totally.
But, you know, interesting that you said the YouTube hacking. Uh, do you think a lot of guys really manipulate their numbers and views? And I'll be honest, I know a few things, and I'll say it. I mean, there's a lot of people that wait for certain guys to upload videos, and then you go look at their tags, which you can do if you know about computers, and they just kind of rip people off, and it's like they take views from other people on purpose. I know that's happened to you, and I don't know if it's ever happened to me, but man, here about a month ago, I was seeing a lot of really similar thumbnails, really similar titles, similar topics. I'm like, look, I'm not the guy you really want to be copying here. I don't have that much traction, but
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
No, that's totally true, man. It's as far as the hacking goes, I mean, anyone can look up what's I was just talking to my buddy Josh about this, but it's not difficult for anyone to go look up what type of titles and thumbnails and videos are doing well. But just to get those clicks, I mean, you click on the video and you got some clown on there that clearly doesn't know anything about fishing, but to the mass market, people don't really know that. And so, yeah, it's gotten so diluted the last year to 2 years. With people just doing the same things, and then you end up with 20 or 30 different channels posting the same type of videos. So it gets harder and harder all the time to stand out in a crowd, and for people to kind of know that you're not some fucking random kid that doesn't know anything about fishing,
mm-hmm.
and that you've actually put in 20, 30 years of grinding your ass off. It gets harder all the time. But that's okay. I think in the end, you know, the cream rises to the top, and it's part of it. It's faking it till you make it doesn't work long term. It works short term. So you'll see a lot of those guys fizzle out.
Right. And I'll be honest, the niche I do talking about baits, it's pretty dang small. I mean, it's like
Totally.
me and tactical bass, and they are like so far ahead of me, and I give them plenty of credit. They are definitely the one what I think is the pioneers of really informing the
Totally.
public, especially on the swim bait game. Man, those guys, I've learned so much about them through the years. Now, that's not saying I don't learn some stuff on my own, but man, if I got a question like, man, am I rigging this right, or how do I fish this HUD? Dude, I log on there and I learn, and that's what I use YouTube for. I do enjoy some entertainment, but dude, I can only see so many. I caught a giant fish out of a spillway uh,
Uh-huh.
thumbnails, and you're good at that. And Josh and Ty, Pig Patrol, they're kind of the OGs of that stuff. And dude, I see so many of these guys try to copy them, and it's just they got a cute thumbnail, and the content's just garbage.
Yeah, totally, man. And yeah, they're the OGs a little bit, but there's been those videos in the past before those guys came around too.
Oh yeah, yeah,
I'm not gonna name any channels that originally did some spillway videos, but there was a few.
right.
But
And
yeah, no, totally. It does get harder all the time. And YouTube becomes bigger and bigger all the time, and it's kind of been weird in the fishing industry, and some of the niches that have developed. But you're totally right. I've always had Matt and Tim. You know, they're really good fishermen. They've put out great videos forever. Matt's been around forever. He, just like you, he was the original YouTuber I think that I watched or watched any fishing videos on YouTube. And what a lot of people don't know about those two guys too is they're great people on top of that. It's tough to tell by someone just watching them on the internet, but those two are great individuals. I've met them both, spent a lot of time talking to them, so that's the most important thing.
yeah, dude. I mean, 2 years ago on my birthday, I was able to take Matt out to Lake X here. It's kind of gotten pretty famous, and I owe you a trip out there as well.
We've
Uh,
been talking about it for a long time. We need to do it.
yeah, man, I make no mistake about it. It is, you know, basically a private lake, and it's full of big fish. But I use it as a bait testing facility, and I
Totally.
like to
Yep.
do videos there because, let's be honest, man, Kentucky Lake it's not the Kentucky Lake 4 or 5 years ago where I dude, they're on every ledge. I can go try this worm or this
Hmm.
crankbait.
Totally.
Uh, but dude, Matt was a genuine dude to me, and that's the best way I can explain. He is ate up with fishing. He's one of the best I've been in the boat with is of figuring out the fish. So if they're promoting something or they're talking about something, I'll listen. Uh,
Yep, I agree.
Now that doesn't mean that we can't have different differentiating opinions because we definitely have. But I think a misconception too on YouTube and in the fishing world is because this guy says it's the truth, or I watched all these videos and I'm trying to do it and it doesn't work. You
Yeah,
know
totally.
what I feel like is if you can just take a little bit of information from Ben Milliken, a little bit of information from this guy, and maybe get on Baitman. Oh, I didn't know how to do that to a bait, and then you can put some small pieces together in your own fishing arsenal that will help you be a better fisherman. Not, some of the silly stuff I see.
No,
That's just
exactly, exactly. And that's, I mean, that's a very big misconception with people getting started fishing too. I get questions all the time that are like, "Can you do a crankbait versus spinnerbait challenge video because I want to know which one works better?" It's like, well, they're two totally different baits. They both work at their own times. There's not just one or the other, and that's kind of a misconception I think people see when they've seen the old school, spinnerbait versus chatterbait challenge and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, it's definitely it's time on the water. But the great thing about YouTube is it's become such a great resource and encyclopedia of fishing knowledge to get people started.
I just want to know you're married, you have a son, Dad Master.
Yes,
If you
sir.
guys don't know, he's awesome. My son's at that age. He'll be 7 next month. So Brooks has really gotten into. He wants to do YouTube videos and
Nice.
stuff with me, uh, and it's kind of funny. We were watching one of your videos months ago, and he seen your boy on there. He goes, "I want to be in the video." So uh, he's taking it to heart. He's not as energetic as I am. He didn't really understand what's going on, but
Right, right.
as a dad, though, that makes me excited that if YouTube or Bates or whatever, that means he wants to spend time with him. I'm really cool about that, but
Totally, man.
I don't know what's happening though on YouTube, and I don't know how it's going to affect your channel and some others. I know that Lojo Fishing talked about it is now with kids being in video and targeting ads and stuff. It makes it really weird because my video is not really made for kids,
Right.
but on the second hand, if I was upcoming high school or middle school fisherman and I wanted to know about something, you saw my video below, tactical bassing or whatever, you might click it. And I don't want to be penalized just because my son's in the video or something.
Totally. Yep. Yeah,
Um,
and I think there's a lot of gray area there. No one really knows what they're talking about. I think there have been YouTubers that have posted videos and made comments like that don't necessarily know what they're talking about. Um, to be completely honest, because no one knows what the effects of that are. Supposedly YouTube's going to start taking away comments or end screens or subscribers even from channels that have kids videos. But I don't know if there's a lot of truth to that. It sounds like it's something that's still up in the air. They haven't decided what they want to do. But that would definitely it would hurt a lot if that was the case. But to be honest, like I would still put Maxima videos if he wants to go fish and film those with me, and we'll figure it out after that.
yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it. I'm kind of like, who am I to tell Brooks, my son, no, bud, you can't be in this live stream because YouTube might take an ad off. Big
Yeah,
deal.
totally. Yep,
Uh, that's time I'm not going to get back spending with him. But
for sure.
the industry is always changing, and we're going to kind of get off YouTube a little bit right now. And I know you're a guy that follows professional angling, and we have had a lot of changes. So this is why I'm excited to have you on here because again, unfiltered. We have
100%.
MLF just purchased FLW, which is in my hometown.
Right.
Employs, oh well, employed a lot of people, good friends of mine, and literally when I grew up, uh, their facility was Operation Bass. It was basically in a trailer, and it grew and grew and grew. And with the Irwin Jacobs purchase, it became huge. And
Hmm.
now there's a lot of stuff up in the air, and there's a lot of people that want to burn Boyd Duckett's house down,
Hmm.
and then vice versa. There's a lot of people that are negative on bass and vice versa. And what's your stance on the state of professional fishing right now? What's some pros and some cons and some things you do and don't like?
Man, to be honest, I'm not. I don't want to say anything bad about anyone because it's not a scene that I'm a part of. But I've been a fan of it and completely ate up with tournament fishing for a very long time. So I followed it very closely. And to be honest, it seems like a bunch of damn chaos right now and unorganization. And
Right.
everything's kind of just up in the air and such a free for all right now. There's nothing set. No one really knows. One set of rules will come out. One set of tournament format or tournament series will come out, it seems like every couple months, and then there's people moving away from one or the other. And to be honest, I've always followed bass and FLW extremely closely. I knew where every single tournament was, who was winning. I'd watch every weigh-in, the Saturday and Sunday weigh-ins and stuff like that. And since MLF came around last year, I completely went like cold turkey because to be honest, I just lost all interest. It was too hard for me to follow that long of a tournament in MLF with as busy as I am, as much as I'm traveling around doing my own thing. And to be honest, I don't like the format. I think 5 fish limit is 100% the way to go. Moving forward, sometimes you can mix it up and do 3 fish or a big fish tournament or something like that. But I'm not crazy about the format. I think they totally lost their cool factor when they went away from the unknown lakes for the anglers. That was, to be honest, as a fisherman, maybe not as like your mass market, but as a fisherman, I thought the coolest thing about MLF was going to a lake that none of them had been to before, or at least none of them had any knowledge of that morning that they'd be going to it. And once they
Yeah.
did that, I mean, it just turned into, from talking to some of the guys, it turned into who can go find the biggest school at 1 or 2 pounders, and they took the fans out of it completely too by making it that long of a tournament, not having live weigh-ins and stuff like that. So, yeah, I'm definitely not a fan of the MLF, and that's on top of that, I also am not a fan of the gentlemen that run the organization either.
Yeah, I mean, I really try to stay unbiased, and there's things I like about MLF, and I tell people this all the time. I have good friends in the industry that fish Major League Fishing. I have good friends that are going to be on the FLW tour and at Bass, and I'm just a fan of the sport. And I think what's really hurt this whole thing is a lot of the fans feel really neglected.
Totally.
We've grown up for so long. Ray Scott founded Bass, and he really got the 5 fish limit thing going. The first bass tournaments, I mean, you just pulled them in on stringers, deader, and a hammer, weight them in, and
Yep.
then we changed to 7 fish. And I remember when I was little on Kentucky Lake, it was 6 fish limit, and then it went to 5, and it was crazy. The weight stayed the same.
Mm-hmm.
But I see the positive in MLF. I like the catch wave release deal just
Yep.
because
That's true. That is
I,
nice.
I live in a place where we were severely affected by tournament mortality. We
Right.
got those Asian carp. They're horrible. You may have experienced that a little bit on the Tennessee River several
Yep.
years ago. But, man, to be honest with you, 5 fish really does do it for me. I see both sides, and it is exciting when you could pull up on a potential school and catch them cast after cast, but it's also exciting when you look at that old school. Was it 2006 California Delta? Steve Kennedy busted out that freaking
Yes, sir.
Huddleston.
It's
You're not going to see.
badass.
You're not going to see that over there.
No,
Um,
you're
you
not.
might see a little bit at Lake Fork, and in MLF's defense, the lakes they went to last year were kind of dinky.
Yep.
They got a better schedule for some big fish. But with bass, even though the lake may not have a ton of big ones, those guys are going to fish for them.
Correct.
And I've got a good friend, Mark Menendez. He's been over there for a long time. He's old school, and bass sets up for that old school grinder fisherman. That's not going to get but 7 or 8 bites a day. But if he gets them, he's going to be right up in the top. And um, I just wish people would quit hating each other on the internet all the time. I'm cool
Yeah.
with arguing baits, but I really don't want to argue over stuff like that because I don't want ever really want to hurt anybody's feelings
Yeah, of
uh,
course.
on first purpose. I mean, I'm the first guy to call out a company for knocking somebody off on their baits. I won't call out any names specifically. They know who they are if they're listening to this, but unfortunately, that's kind of the industry in a nutshell, when something takes off, it's like there's a race to see who can try to do it better or try to do it just like it. And there's
Yeah,
just really,
it's all about shortcuts, is what it is. Everyone wants a shortcut to try to make some more money short term.
yeah.
But
So if a guy was to come up to you and say, Ben, I want to start a YouTube channel because they asked me this, and I just say, you got to hustle. But how many hours a week do you actually work at YouTube? I know it's not 40
mm,
hours a week.
no, see, and it's tough. I've hired a cameraman, and so he does not all, but the majority of my filming and editing, and so that's kind of he's a professional at it. He's extremely good. Cole's like unbelievable at editing and just work ethic too. But I mean, he's probably putting in 60, 70 hours a week, and then I'm probably between filming and I do some of the editing and some of the smaller local stuff as well. Shit, I'm probably working another 60 hours right now, and that's cut down to help with the old work life balance from about 9 months ago. I made a change. I was working substantially more, but I'm probably down to, on a good week, I'll work 50 hours or something. But generally, when I'm traveling or doing some stuff, 60 or 70.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. If mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. And
That's right.
dude, I don't see how you do it. I mean, I work 40 to 50 hours, work a lot of overtime. I work nights, and I'm good to do a live stream and maybe one video. And I'm not making excuses, but I don't think people really understand the effort it takes. I actually did videography for a living
Hmm.
for 5 or 6 years, traveling the country, filming hunts and filming fishing shows, then editing them for TV. And just to make a 20-minute TV show, that's a pretty long process.
Oh,
And
totally, man.
I'm embarrassed by some of the content I put out. Like the video I dropped this morning, I'm like, dude, that's out of focus, the white balance off, the audio.
Oh
But
yeah.
that is one good thing about YouTube for the most part. People really don't give a shit as long as you got good content and it's entertaining.
Yeah, it's almost like they like the raw stuff even more than the edited stuff. It's We've kind of had to pull the reins back on some of the cinematic stuff in my videos since Cole came on board.
Right. He
Um,
does a great job too. I meant to tell you the videos have been looking top notch lately.
Thanks, man. He definitely deserves all the praise he gets because he's out there in all conditions with the camera going like 95% of the time we're out there. So that's definitely tough to find.
Let's get in a few other topics real quick while I still got you on here and I don't fall asleep. Ben, you are a Nebraska football fan, and I am a Tennessee Volunteer fan. I think those are two teams that mirror each other.
Next topic. Next topic.
Okay, we'll go to the next topic.
I'm just kidding. We can talk about that. No, I
No, I
totally
think
agree,
that's,
man.
I can text you and I'm like, I can't, this is just so Tennessee. And then next week you're like, I just can't believe that happened. It's like, we always find the worst ways to beat ourselves, but they really mirror each other. And in the ways I feel like they also mirror, me and you mirror each other a little bit as fishermen. I like to think outside the box, and I know you do too. And uh, I'll be honest. Let's talk about Sixth Sense, your relationship with them, and it's no secret that I've really jumped on board with them because they make really good products. I've been a fan of them for a long time, and I knew you were a fan of them before you were ever promoting them. We'd talk,
Totally, yeah.
and you would order stuff. Man, that Sixth Sense, the 50X, that's the deal. And man, Casey's a good guy, and they got a lot of unique stuff, some stuff we can't talk about, and some stuff coming out. And what's your relationship with them, and what do you see them going forward as a company? I think they're knocking on some heavy hitters' doors right
Oh,
now.
totally, man. Yeah, it's I've worked with Casey for a very long time. I was a fan of the baits back when I just did tournament fishing before the YouTube thing started 3 or so years ago. And yeah, man, that was back when they just had like the Crush 50 and the 300 DD and like the 250 MD, and that was it. Um, and the product line's kind of slowly grown, and Casey's really built it as a fisherman first, from the ground up. Um, and he's done the slow grind route to get to where he's at. He's had several. I know from knowing him on a personal level, Casey, the CEO, for those of you that aren't aware, but he's had some really big struggles because it's next to impossible to start a bait company and then grow it to a point to where he's gotten it to now. It's almost impossible. to be honest. And he's just gotten to the point where he's releasing all these new products and colors that are just incredible. And they look amazing, and I always tell people they look amazing, but they catch fish better than they look. And it's unbelievable what they're cooking up constantly. And we got all these new products coming out, and I'm designing a couple products that I'm super excited about, and he's giving me free reign on a bunch of stuff like that. Really, the sky is the limit, and that's because he's someone that doesn't exist in the industry that, as far as I know, where he's an excellent fisherman. He's an absolute hammer.
Yes, he
He's
is.
he's an incredible businessman. He has a great business mind. He's an unbelievable artist. He's probably the best lure painter that I know. Some of the stuff that he's done, and most importantly, he's a great human being. And I don't know anyone else that has those, handful of qualities all together. And because of that, really the sky's the limit with everything that he wants to put his hands on.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. It's Casey has been very genuine to me. We talk more than just baits and stuff. We talk life and other things. And it's one of those dudes. He's always kind of had my back, and I'll have his, and I appreciate it. And same with you. Life happens, and you've always opened up and talked to me when I need someone to talk to, just even about random stuff. It can be, I send you some off the wall text sometimes, but
Yeah. No, totally, man.
but I'll do the live streams, and I'm bringing in these colors at 6 cents, and everyone's like, well, is that one better? Is that one better? And the thing is, they all work so good. It's really hard for me to just say this is the best color, because
Right,
new
totally.
ones come out and I catch good fish on them. So then I'm like, all right, so do I throw this Tiger Truce, or do I throw this Crackle Craw, or there's this new craw. This is really good too. I've caught fish on all of them, and sometimes it confuses me. So I just tell guys simple. If it looks good and it's red, buy it for the spring, buy the shads in the fall. You can't go wrong.
No, that's a good call, man. Well, you're
Uh,
totally right. I tell people, you get these. Oh, look how natural this bait looks. Look how awesome this bait looks. And then they comes out with the Black Magic series. It's a black crankbait with blue on the sides. And then I'm telling people, oh, well, black and blue jigs work so well. I'm going to try these out. And then I go smash them on those. And then
yeah.
it's just like, well, I don't even know. Everything I throw catches fish from them. So,
Yeah, and you guys, if you're listening and you don't know, Ben has a great discount code with 6 cents. Is it MF10?
MF10, you got it.
Yeah. Anytime you forget the Baitman code, just type MF10. You're gonna get the same discount, and he's got a really sweet color. And I grabbed one, the Gillikin in the 50X, and I'm not a big bluegill crankbait guy,
Right, right.
and I think that's just because of my area. Our predominant forage for bigger bass has always been gizzard or threadfin
Of
shad.
course. Yep.
But I'm going to do some traveling eventually, and I know that color is going to whack them. It'll whack them here.
Yeah,
Uh,
totally.
but that's one thing Casey does. His bluegill imitations are no one can touch them. I mean, I've
No,
seen other
definitely not.
companies try, and that's no offense to Strike King or anybody. Strike King makes some awesome baits and some great colors of their own. But when you're buying 6 cents, you're not just buying a standard color. It's like a fisherman designed it because it will catch fish.
Totally. Yeah, and that was the whole basis for the company, was to take a custom paint job, custom quality paint job, and put it on a mass-produced bait. And that's how we grew the business, and that's how it's remained, and it keeps getting better all the time.
Now, what kind of fisherman are you, Ben? Are you a power fisherman, all around guy, or I know you do. You guys you use a spinning rod way more than me. I mean, I only own one. Um,
Well, I honestly, like, I'd like to say I'm one thing or another, but I'm pretty versatile, I think, and that probably comes from just traveling all over the damn place, fishing for all these different species of fish. I really don't throw a spinning rod much for largemouth, unless I'm fishing for like a smallmouth lake or something like that. And I've always thrown like little stuff on bait casters, lighter bait casters, like little shaky heads, stuff like that. But these last couple of years, spent a lot more time fishing for these smallmouth. I'm starting to kind of really realize the benefits of that smooth drag and being able to toss those little tiny baits, because they eat them too. But
yeah,
yeah,
it's
I mean, I love to shallow crank. I love to throw big swim baits. I love to go drag a jig offshore. And I feel like I'm really good with a frog and stuff like that too. So I feel like I'm pretty versatile, and I wouldn't say that I'm an expert at anything. Always growing with that, but I feel like I can catch them a lot of different ways.
Do you, I love shallow cranking. I love deep cranking. And lately, my kind of obsession has been balsa crankbaits. Do you throw a lot of
Interesting.
balsa stuff?
I don't. That's one thing I've never gotten into a ton. I got a bunch of the old Zoom WC crankbaits,
Oh, you
and I
bastard.
caught fish on those for a while. And I know they've been discontinued now. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I've never gotten into them crazy, just because the fishability of a plastic crankbait with its weight, and castability and colors and everything you can do with the internals has always, to me, been more attractive. But I know those balsa baits get bit like crazy.
Yeah. So, first, don't start that addiction. Two, if you ever want to send me one of those WECs, I'll put it to use. I've kind of got into it, but what I've noticed, it's really expensive. And then there's this side of it. Guys on the internet are always flipping swim baits. Well,
Yeah,
now there's a market. Guys are just flipping these balsa baits. I mean, I'm seeing baits that,
interesting.
yeah, the manufacturer puts out there 2 weeks ago for sale for $20. Now he's backdoor dealing with a guy on eBay, and they're going for $70, $80. I'm like,
Of course.
and unfortunately, that's one of the things I don't like about the fishing industry. Everything ends up being a money grab.
Oh yeah.
And that's one thing I don't
It's
think
a
you'll
good thing about it
ever see
sometimes,
with,
though.
yeah, I don't think you'll ever see that with 6 cents where they just hike their prices up after a guy wins a tournament or something.
Oh no, no way.
But I will say this, and you know what I'm talking about, the, the new product that's coming here in about a month. How long will it take before some other companies decide, well, we're just going to make something just like
Oh,
that? Because it's
I
really innovative.
guarantee, I guarantee that it's already in the works. After Casey dropped the video before ICAST this last summer, I guarantee people are already working on it. But the great thing about it is it's an extremely difficult bait to get right, and so it's going to take them some time. I don't care who it is.
Yeah. I, I I threw it for a couple casts over in the pond by my house, which obviously no bass lives in. I've not caught nothing in 2 years, but dude, it's gonna. It. I won't say it's a game changer. What I would say is they're changing how you play the game with this bait. It's definitely different. Uh, if you like to crank shallow, if you like to throw chatterbait, that kind of stuff, this is going to be a bait you're really, really going to want. And that's all we can really say about it. Casey said, I'm going to slap you a $500 fine if you say anything more than that.
Shoot, yeah, it's going to be interesting, man. I'm excited to see how it fishes. I know he fished a tournament with it um, this last summer, and he had, with a prototype, one of the very first ones on the finalized batch, and he caught a 10-pounder in a tournament, and they won the tournament on it. So, and it was bed fishing. So, I mean, I think the sky's the limit for that bait. Obviously, it's going to be a shallow cranking bait. It's not going to be able to do much more than that, but it's going to be a something they haven't seen. That's for sure.
Yes. Well, while we're on baits, I'm going to switch gears a little bit here and not just go so much 6 cents. But I was driving home the other day and I was thinking about topics for video, and I started thinking about overrated baits and underrated baits. So,
Hmm.
you give me a bait that's really popular that you feel it's overrated.
Ooh, that's tough. Like a specific brand or like a genre?
You could be a genre. So my number one overrated bait, and you may just come through this phone and kill me, is a wiggle wart. I just feel there's so many better options out there at a better price, especially the OG ones that do
Yeah,
about the same thing. I really think the new warts work really good, but the curve, the rock crawler, there's a
totally.
lot of really good baits, and I think those OG wiggle warts, other than maybe a few, they're pretty much collector's items.
Yeah, they I think until like 5 years ago when Spro came out with the rock crawler, now Six Sense has a curve and you got Teckle's got one, Megabass has some. Until then they were kind of the standard still, but just the castability of them, they kind of cast like a piece of bread. And so that I see what you're saying there. They do catch fish really well. But there's just so many options now that
Yeah, and when I say
work as well
overrated,
or better.
to clarify to people, that doesn't mean they're junk and they don't catch fish. That just
Right.
means I feel like they've been put on a pedestal where certain people feel like they can't be touched. Um,
Totally. Oh
um,
man, I'm trying to think of what mine would be. Um, God, there's so many different ways to fish, so many different baits, and all these different lakes I go to that it's tough to say. Until this last year, I was never a big spinnerbait fan. Um,
ah,
always kind of, I always favor a swim jig, almost always. I catch more fish on them, but then I've kind of started to realize there's definitely that special watercolor and time where you need to cover more water and get more attention with that spinnerbait this year. Um, so I would say probably this spinnerbait, but that kind of hurts me to say considering the last tournament I fished that I hosted, I threw the damn spinnerbait 100% of my casts for the tournament. So
the damn spinnerbait catches them. So
it
I'm like the
does.
opposite. So this spring I ordered so many swim jigs from 6 cents I had to force myself because I I just don't catch them on a swim jig. I'll throw that dang accent spinnerbait around till I'm blue in the face and
Right.
not get any bites, and I'll pick up a swim jig for 10 casts and not get any bites, and then pick the spinnerbait back up just because I feel more comfortable. But
Of course.
after I started catching a few fish on it, I like the swim jig. It's
Yeah.
uh,
It's
it's a
it's
different presentation.
it gets bit a lot of places where the people have thrown spinnerbait for a million years, and it's a great bait.
Right. So how I started doing it is instead of throwing a spinnerbait in the bushes that everybody does here on Lake Barkley, I started, skipping a swim jig way back in there, swimming on riprap, and
For sure.
I need to get in a boat with someone that's really good at it, like yourself, on a place where there's actually a lot of fish live. But
Of course. It's a great grass bait
yeah,
more than anything. And it's more fishable to me than a spinnerbait. You can pull it through a lot more stuff, different types of cover. Like you just said, you can skip it. I don't know anyone that can skip a spinnerbait very well. And,
now
and so there's more you can do with it, in my opinion.
now let's go on the underrated side. What is a bait out there that Ben Milliken thinks is very underrated? You don't hear a lot of people talking about.
I'm going to get specific and I'm going to be a total homer and a fanboy. I'm just going to say that 6 cents flat 75 crankbait. I think that's the best crankbait that's ever been created.
Dude, that's a freaking legit crankbait. I don't think people understand how good that crankbait is.
No,
Uh,
I told Casey like the couple tournaments they had at Grand Lake where the guys were just super cold water. This was probably what 3 years ago, 4 years ago. The one Evers won, and then the one that God, they had another one. I think it was the one Evers won. I told Casey though, I was like, dude, if any of these guys were throwing the flat 75, they would win this tournament so easy. I guarantee that they would. But they're all throwing speed traps and shit like that. It's such a good bait. Yeah, I just don't know a better cold water cranking bait for 3 to 6 feet of water. I don't
yeah,
think there is one.
yeah. I mean, I'm a bomber flat A dude. I really
Yeah,
like the
yeah,
flat A,
for sure.
but it's kind of like they're hard to get, and I am not paying those freaking scalpers prices for some of the colors I like. I just throw a flat 75, and it's the time of year where here to throw it here.
Yes.
And it'd be really good here up until like April. A lot of people give up on that shallow cranking deal or flat side as soon as it hits March. Dude, that can be really good up until
Oh yeah,
April.
definitely.
Uh,
Those fish hang out in the nasty rock before they go spawn for a lot longer, I think, than people realize. And I think there's even times where they're on beds and they're shooting eggs and stuff, and they'll still go back, or some of them will that haven't made the move yet. At the exact same time when they're on beds, they'll still go back to that rip wrap and rock piles and stuff like that, and you can still catch them on it.
well, we're just going to have a few more minutes here, and I'm going to let you go. But let's talk about real quick, where's Ben Milliken and Baitman going fishing next year? We have said for 2, 3 years now, we need to go fishing. We had a couple opportunities. I was going to come to the very successful Slaunch Master Classic there at Sherman Lake, and just some things come up with work, couldn't get off, and had to bail out. And I very sincerely apologize for that. I was really pissed
Oh
off.
no, no, I know
Uh,
how it goes, man.
um, I'll kind of want to come out your way because I'm a Tennessee River guy. I want to experience some of the stuff out your way, different
Right.
styles of fishing, whatever's the best way for me and you meet up. What are you thinking? What are we going to do, Ben?
No, totally, man. I think we have two options. We can either, I've got some power plant lakes in Texas that I'm very familiar with. Either do that before March, or you come up and we'll go up north and we'll do some smallmouth fishing. We have some very unique smallmouth fisheries north of us here that a lot of guys don't fish, but the fisheries are incredible. We had, I mean, a bunch of days where we caught 15 or 20 fish over 5 pounds,
Jeez.
and it's something else.
Well, I think it might work out better with my work. Uh, that slot out to Texas for like a week. We'll just meet up
Deal.
and we'll go bounce around because pre-spawn Texas going to be a swim bait deal, and we can always go to Fork. I know this guy. He's caught some big ones there named Kelly Jordan,
Oh
and
yeah.
he's gave me a bunch of waypoints there, and I think he's a hammer there. So
Good.
um,
I'm in on that. Fork's a good place. It can be tough, but that's the time of year to do it.
yeah,
February, March,
we might as
April.
well yank on them before all these Bassmaster kayak guys get out there and all the other stuff. So, Ben, I've really appreciated you being on here. You're a good dude. For those listening, make sure you subscribe to Ben's channel. Grab up his MF or series rods over there on 6 Cents website, which are very solid for the price point. And you can give a shameless plug, Ben, and you can tell us how good they are. I've got a friend that's got one. He said, "Dude, this rod is legit for the money."
That's awesome to hear, man. The feedback's been phenomenal with them. We're almost sold out of all 7 models. There's more coming in a couple months here. But yeah, I mean, I just wanted to set out and make a rod by a fisherman for a fisherman that has very specific actions that'll work for a lot of different types of techniques, with as high a quality as components as we can put on them. And honestly, we're not making a big margin on them or anything because we brought the price point down to $119 with the discount. They're like $108. So I'm super happy with how they turned out. And the biggest thing is, they're a great all around rod. They're not the most ultra sensitive $500 rod, but we made them so they would be sensitive enough that you can feel everything you need to, but they're also going to be extremely strong. Through the testing process, we found that the super high modulus rods, it's so hard to keep them from breaking. They want to break like crazy, and that's not something I was interested in. The other day I was actually fishing. I snagged like a 20-pound flathead catfish that was inside of a tire, and I brought the entire catfish and tire up with one of my rods, my jig rod, and so it can pull up some serious weight.
Yeah, that's the rod I need because I'm always catching everything but fish. It seems.
Perfect. We
I'm
got
gonna
the
try
rod
to
for you.
I'm gonna try to when they get back in stock. I'm gonna pick me out one and have Casey send it, and I'm gonna fish with it. I'll be honest. I really like my sensory rod and the Lux rod. I mean, they're
Totally.
freaking great. And dude, I could fish with about anything I wanted to. And I think those high dollar rods can be overrated at times.
Oh yeah,
You sacrifice a lot of durability for super lightweight and sensitivity.
you
And
do.
I'm
And
clumsy.
fish fighting too. They don't. A lot of them super high modulus, super fast action rods fight fish very poorly, and
Right.
that's one thing we really wanted was power throughout the blank on these rods to get fish to the boat.
Well, Ben, I'm going to have to get a nap. And I hope everybody has enjoyed Ben Milliken being on the first episode of Baitman Raw. Maybe we were not raw enough. Who knows? But we're going to do this once a week, and I'll probably upload the video or audio/video because my intent is for you guys to listen to this as you're driving or you want to get away from your wife, girlfriend, whatever, and probably upload them on Tuesdays. So Ben, thank you very much for joining me. I value your opinion. You're a good dude. And I'm probably fixing to log off here after this and watch a little Milliken fishing.
Perfect. No, I really appreciate you having me on, Kevin. Always reach out. I definitely look forward to hopefully being on again in the future, and more than anything, look forward to getting on the boat with you here soon.
Sounds good, man. Well, Ben, you take care and tell Dab Master, dab on.
All right, you bet, man. Take it easy.
3, 2, 1. Man, I really appreciate Ben joining me here on the first episode of Baitman Raw. And we're going to have a new guest next week. I'm trying to get somebody else on here. We'll cover more topics in the fishing industry, not just baits, but Major League Fishing, FLW, whatever you guys want. Drop some comments in this video. Let me know what you want me to talk about, what's hot, what's not. We can talk baits, we can talk rods, reels, but I really want to do that on the live stream I do every Saturday night here on YouTube. And I appreciate you guys liking all the videos lately. Make sure you give them some love. Leave the comments. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't. And maybe we can get Mr. Low Budget Live Luke Duncan on here. I don't know. We'll see what we can do, or who knows. Maybe get somebody from Strike King or a different tackle company. But really excited to start Baitman Raw. Thank you guys so much. You guys have a very blessed day. Be sure to go catch you some Jaints.